Greetings fellow mammals, welcome back to another episode of Sorrowful Ramblings, today as promised the LMGs. But before we can talk about the specific LMGs, you might be wondering what exactly is that? That looks pretty weird. Well, on the last video I had a few comments about the Handstop, the Compact Handstop, which allows you to fire while sprinting, which looks like this. So you can hip fire while sprinting. And there seem to be a few misconceptions about what this does exactly. And I wanted to just get rid of those misconceptions. So, why this magazine, why nothing else? Because I simply want to focus on one stat right here. The sprint recovery. Right now, with the biggest magazine and the fast version of that as well, it's 200 milliseconds. And I will hold my mouse up to the microphone and just let you hear the delay. Let's do that again. I hope that is coming across on the recording, I'm not sure, but I'm just assuming it does. And now we're going to reduce the sprint recovery as low as we can with the 20-round magazine and the rail cover. Now we're at 83 milliseconds, which is the shortest you can get. Let's do this again. And you might be already able to tell, but simply put, the handstop does not make the sprint recovery irrelevant. It is still a factor. The only thing the handstop does is that it allows you to shoot while sprinting. It does not override the sprint recovery. I just wanted to get that out there so you don't build your weapons around this thing and ignore the sprint recovery and then just think that works. It does not. With that out of the way, one more thing we have to clear up front. The support signature weapon trait, the LMG Proficiency, allows you to transition faster to ADS, and you don't have any sprint speed penalty. Again, sprint speed penalty does not refer to sprint recovery. It means that, well, usually if you use an LMG on any of the other classes, you run slower than with any other weapon. It's just a slower sprint speed. With the support, you don't have that, you just run as fast as everyone else. That's it. It's not about the sprint recovery, how fast you can get your weapon up after a sprint. That's a different statistic. And the faster transition to ADS is basically one step. So if I take this weapon for example, right now it says 300 milliseconds. If you use this setup on a support, you would get 250. All of these stats work in steps, so it's 133, 167, 200, 250, 300, 367, and I think 433 comes after that. Yeah, so it goes in steps, and if you play medic and choose an LMG, you basically always get one step better than what's displayed right here. Ideally, for the UI designers of this game, the weapon traits are marked with these blue symbols right here. So I think it would be nice if you could, like if you pick an attachment, you get these red and green markers, right? Why couldn't you just also mark the ADS time in this case in blue, fitting with the signature weapon trait, so you know that that's actually 250, as long as you're looking at it while being a medic. Just an idea. Anyway, so let's get started. L110. This is basically a G36 in LMG form. Same damage model, same fire rate, but obviously 100 rounds and awful hip fire, not as great as precision. Control is kind of similar, I would say. And the mobility is obviously also horrendous. And even with this setup, which is light barrel, and one of the angle grips, you still only get down to 300 milliseconds. And that brings me to the overall thing before I go deeper into this weapon. The LMGs... no, let's start different. For my playstyle, and I think for most people, I would argue that 250 milliseconds, that one right here, is the most upper limit of comfort when it comes to ADS speed. 300 is too much. It's simply too much. It will make you lose gunfights, one-on-ones, running around corners. It's too slow. And even 250 is somewhat scratching on that level of uncomfort. 200 is, in my opinion, the sweet spot. Anything below is obviously nice, but not particularly necessary. But 300 is just... it's just too much. So that also means, as you already know from the weapon proficiency, these weapons, for example this one, which has 300, if I use this on medic I have 250. So that's acceptable. But if I'm not playing as support, I get these 300 milliseconds right here. And that feels absolutely shit. And that means if we just take a quick look through all of these, the L110, M123K, M250 especially, you can't get lower than that, M240L, and the M121A2 are all LMGs which cannot, they are physically incapable of reaching 250, simply by the attachments and the base stats they have. So all of these weapons, in my opinion, are completely unusable on any other class than support. Unless you play linear modes, you like to sit in some corner with your LMG, with your bipod, with your thermal scope, and probably also the bigger magazines. For those people, please leave my channel. I'm not talking to you. To anyone else which has a somewhat reasonable playstyle, these are just trash. Not from their damage standpoint or handling anything, it's just the ADS speed. You will lose one-on-ones, it feels awful. I would never recommend to use these on any other class. The other ones we will talk about. There is some wiggle room there, but just keep that in mind. I will talk about all of the LMGs from the standpoint of a medic first, and then at the end we will go over them again and consider them for the other classes, just so you understand what my process here is. So, as a support, looking at the LMGs, let's start with the L110. So, this weapon, as I already said, is basically a G36 with 100 rounds. Now, long suppressor, light barrel, violet laser, slim angled, the rest is basic stuff. The initial problem here is that you don't have a basic barrel for 10 points. You, for some reason, and this is going to be a continuing theme, none of the LMGs, I think, have got the cryo barrel, which is, in my opinion, the biggest... they need it. Simply put, they need the cryo barrel. It would be a massive help, but they don't have it. So, you have to pick the light barrel if you want to get anywhere close acceptable ADS speeds. You simply cannot use these because it's always even higher. So this is basically a requirement. And just as an example, if you don't have them, that works. That kind of works. And yeah, that's just god awful. So it's not only that they don't get access to the cryo barrel, it's also that their base accuracy is not that convincing. So you do really have to lean into the accuracy, and this is just not the optimal combination. But it's all we got, so yeah, we have to live with it. Slim angled for some recoil control. Again, if you don't think you need any recoil help, you can use the slim handstop and then try hollow point ammo. But I think this is more comfortable. And with the setup, yeah, I think it's that's Jesus. Yeah, it's you can't say much about it. It's one of the most basic LMGs there is. It has a decent damage model, it has a decent fire rate. 100 rounds is obviously nice. It's not really accurate. It's easy to handle, somewhat. Just basic stuff. For support players, which do get the 250 milliseconds, it's acceptable. It's just kind of forgettable, I think. It's not bad, it's just... right, that exists too, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, let's move on. DRS, same damage model by the way, just fires a bit faster. This desperately wants to be an AR, but it isn't, so it has the god-awful mobility and ADS speed. But it's objectively still one of the best weapons in the game, and if you look anywhere online, people love this thing. Personally, I don't, and not because it's objectively bad or the performance is subpar. I don't like the recoil, not the recoil, I don't like the reload. It looks, I don't know, it looks stiff, it looks janky. And the camera shake. This is, by the way, another thing on many weapons. Why is my character having a seizure while replacing a magazine? Look at this camera shake. Are you wobbling your head? What is this? It's so annoying, and there are so many weapons where it's just completely overtuned, and it just looks ridiculous. Anyway, the DRS is a super accurate laser. It's somewhat easy to control. I do think you do need a grip on it, but again, I'm lazy, and there are people that just play this with a slim handstop, but I don't. So let's look at the setup here. This is, by the way, still unchanged. This weapon as well didn't get the cryo barrel for I don't know why. So heavy extended, via laser, ripped stubby, and buffer. That is the full perfect accuracy build with recoil help. You're basically a turret with this setup, but a slow mobility turret. And then the other thing I see recommended is this setup, which has the synthetic tip ammo. They aren't that useful on this damage model, but what I can do is free shot to the head, which obviously doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's very effective. The problem is, synthetic tip is obviously pretty expensive, although it's already the cheapest version in the game. But it means if you want a grip with some recoil help and no accuracy downside, you can basically not afford any accuracy attachments at all. And that means, yeah, you can see how much that's going left and right there. And I'm not even firing that long. Have to do that again. You see that? That's just horrible. I'm sorry, but that's horrible. If you want to use the DRS in the 50 meter range and want to go for headshots, I guess this works. But I'm not... I don't know, there are other weapons that do that better. QBZ, for example, which is very effective with synthetic tip ammo. I'm not sure that's what this thing is best at. And surprisingly, apart from this main setup, I did try this one as well, because this gets the 250 millisecond ADS speed. And this worked best for me on the other classes, because obviously 300 is unacceptable. And so this with, again, no additional accuracy attachments, but a better grip and a fast magazine and not the headshot ammo. This is way easier to handle, way easier to keep on a chest level. And then it allows you to do these macro bursts and even be somewhat effective at these ranges right here, if my aim wasn't so pathetic right now. Still, This obviously doesn't get the full potential out of this weapon, which is what this setup is for, which is again 3 milliseconds, so only usable on support. Still a very strong weapon though. M60, probably the only hard-hitting LMG that can reach 250 milliseconds, and it does so by using the 50 round belt, the light barrel, and an angled grip. You have to combine 3 attachments to get down to this level, and that's not even a good level, it's just the highest acceptable one. It's rough. Again, by the way, another weapon that could desperately need the cryo barrel, but it also doesn't have it. But at least it's easy to handle. I do think it would be nice to have the buffer on here, but then I wouldn't know where I would get those 5 points from, to be honest. And as you can see, the accuracy is still not great. It really needs the cryo barrel. And I guess those 35mm targets are fine, but that one is already a massive issue. And on top of that, the damage model is fine, but the fire rate... I think I talked about this in a past video. This is basically the AK-4D in LMG version. Oh, by the way, let me just... So, L110 is a G36. DRS is the M16 in full auto version. M60 is an AK-4D. M250 is kind of the M277 carbine, but without the damage drop at 75 meters. So this is basically one damage model for all eternity. The M123K is basically the M433 assault rifle. Forget anyone? Probably have, I think. Nah, never mind. Those are the most important ones. So they are basically equivalents of assault rifles, or in the case of the M250, a carbine, a special carbine. But all in all, the M60 is just clunky. Although it can reach 250, if you play this on support, you get 200. So at that moment, it feels nice, somewhat. But then the rate of fire is just... kind of eh. RPKM. This one is a bit special. Heavy extended, not enough points for via laser, slim handstop to get to 250, and you have to use the 30 round mag for another ADS drop, which means you have this god-awful reload speed of 2.8 seconds. And the reason for that is because synthetic tip ammo costs 30 points on this weapon. I really wish it was 20. That would open up a violet laser, a fast magazine maybe, a grip that actually helps with recoil, although if I just show you this weapon, really does not need any recoil reduction. I think anyone who uses the RPKM with a recoil grip is just lost. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. If you can't handle this, just... I don't know. I don't even have words. But ultimately, as you just saw, very easy to handle, very accurate, pretty good velocity, acceptable ADS speed even for the other classes. And yes, synthetic tip ammo, but keep in mind, it's not one of those damage models where one headshot helps you. You do have to land multiple to feel any meaningful impact. But it does help. And again, if you hit some limp hits, a headshot can make up for it. Especially with synthetic tip ammo. So this weapon seems a bit boring, seems a bit on the edge. But it's surprisingly probably the weapon I had the most fun with during my LMG week. Also simply because I could just keep playing engineer while using this. I didn't have to force myself on support. And yeah, it works very well. It's very reliable. The reload is fucking annoying. The 30-point cost for synthetic tip ammo is really annoying. But apart from that, a very useful weapon. Even up close with this damage model, it still has a certain clunkiness of LMGs, which just makes me not want to use them. But it's good. It's shouldn't be forgotten about. M23K, 123K. Yeah, another LMG that can't reach 250. And on this one, we don't even get the light barrel. We only get the short one. So, I mean, wait, let me show you that on the basic setup. So if we ignore the muzzle and the lasers, let's just compare, alright? This is the basic hipfire. Let's just take the closest target. It's already a problem because you're not hitting all shots. And now let's use the short barrel. Better for that one. But that's kind of lucky. That's completely useless. Yeah. It's rough. It's just the hipfire on LMGs is too bad in general to make any. It's just useless. It's just useless. This is just an, I don't know, to piss me off. I don't know. Where's the light barrel? Where's the cryo barrel? Another weapon that could desperately need it. They all could need the cryo barrel for fuck's sake, but you don't get it. So, short barrel for ADS speed, ripped stubby for some control, violet laser for some kind of accuracy, and then you end up with a weapon that, obviously, with the same damage model and fire rate as the M433, it rips just as fast with, I think it's 100 rounds. Yeah, 100 rounds. It has a lot more wonky recoil, I would say. Yeah. It might look kind of controllable, but it does have a mind of its own sometimes. As you could see just there, it just went left, right. That's not what I did with my mouse. Yeah, that would pretty straight. Straight again. To the right. Straight again. To the left. To the middle right. To the right. Center. It's just... It's not really predictable. And sometimes you get lucky, like I just did right there. And sometimes... sometimes you had limp shots. And sometimes you... Ooh, yeah, it does that. It just... It's... I don't know. It's... below 35 meters, really reliable. But the problem is... that ADS speed. I mean, I would wish I could use this on Iberian. But I just don't want to. It's just not... It's not aggressive enough, and I don't want to sit in fucking corners and aim down hallways. I hate that playstyle. It's just really unfortunate. M250 is even worse. This one only gets the heavy barrels, and you cannot downgrade the magazine or the box or whatever. So the best ADS speed you can get is 367 milliseconds. It's so awful. And yeah, the rest slim angle, violet laser for my accuracy, and hollow point ammo. Because obviously, just like the M277 carbine, a weapon that never drops in damage obviously suffers the most from limb modifiers. So usually this is always a 4-shot kill. 1, 2, 3, 4. But with 2 limb hits it's not anymore. So that's why I'm using hollow point ammo. It's not that great by itself, but it helps balance it out a bit more. And if you do land 1, 2 headshots, it's a free shot. Might not happen that often, but sometimes we get lucky. still, I would say this is probably the biggest loser. Especially because if you consider the M277, that weapon, because it's a carbine, is still losing from the limb multipliers, but you can still play it aggressively. It has good ADS speed, it has decent hipfire, you can, as I showed you in the carbine video, you can still use it. This weapon, the recoil is just... Yeah, that was a good... Sometimes it's very this way, sometimes it's very this way, and during active controlling of that recoil, it can throw you off. And for a weapon that never drops in damage, which means it should be very usable at long ranges, it just doesn't work anymore, at least from a handheld position. If you use a bipod, that's obviously a different question, but I don't want to. I fucking hate that playstyle, again. So this is... To me, it's completely unusable. Simply put, it's unusable, even on support. You only get 300 milliseconds, which is still unusable. I would like to use this weapon. It seems to be great in theory, but not in practice. KTS 100. This is probably... I don't know why, to be honest, but it's the weapon I forget the most that it exists. I constantly keep catching myself forgetting that this is even in the game. And it's possibly because it's the furthest you can go from my playstyle. It's the super slow firing, mega accurate, long range. Yeah, it's just packing away on the enemies. I mean, it's great at what it does, but it's just not for me. So, heavy extended, which by the way still has one of the best velocities in the game, so it fully leans into this role, which I guess is good. This is a one-trick pony, it can't really do anything else. And you do have to use one of the ADS speed reductions and the 45 round max, at least you can afford the fast one, so the reload isn't 2.9 seconds. So you can afford a fast one, that's nice, which by the way is still 2.5, which is also not great, but better. Synthetic tip ammo obviously, and then I would say any scope that's higher than 2.5. Yeah, because in close range this is not going to win you anything. You have to go for these kind of targets and then preferably land some headshots. Very good long range and upper mid range weapon, but not for me. M240L. This has the same damage model as the M60, it just shoots faster. And it's also special in another way, because it has the light barrel, the violet laser, and the 75 round box mag, which for some reason also improves accuracy while moving. So on this weapon we actually have 3 accuracy attachments, which unfortunately means the reload is going to be god-awful because the 50 round belt, I mean 4 seconds is still not great, but it's better than 7. Anyway, so the most accuracy you can get, the rail cover to get the sprint recovery a bit better, and the slim handstop for ADS speed. And then you just... yeah, it punches like a truck, but it's not great. I would say beyond 50 meters. That one still works, but anything beyond that I just wouldn't touch, just ignore it. On the other hand, if you have too much problems with the recoil, I would get rid of the laser and then use the slim angles, so you get a bit more help, and that makes it a bit easier. But again, if you do what I did and just focus on the preferably even 35 meter range and below, you don't really need the recoil help, and then you can make it even more accurate and make sure that your bullets actually land on the chest, because this is a free hit kill weapon for 20 meters and you kind of want to make use of that, so accuracy is a factor here. a good weapon, but again, if you look to the bottom right, unusable except on support, with my standards. M121A2, this is basically another upgrade, so still same damage model as the M60 and the M240, but fires even faster. And also cannot get lower than 300 milliseconds. And another thing on this weapon, we again don't get the light barrel, but only the short one. Yeah. Violet laser. This box mag does not improve accuracy, but I kind of want it because the reload is horrible, and it's still horrible with this, but at least it's a tiny bit better. And slim angled. And then you have a weapon. And to be honest, this thing kind of needs the slim angle grip because the recoil on that one is just a bit too annoying compared to the M240. Yeah. Technically a stronger version of the M240, but if you look at the time to kill, I think it's a difference of 70 milliseconds or something. It's not that much. I forgot to look it up before this video, but it's not that big of a difference. And having more rounds, better accuracy and more easygoing recoil with the M240 seems to be a better deal in my opinion, and you also get better velocity because you're not forced into the short barrel. So if you pick between those two, I would prefer the M240. But this one is still very strong. And last and kind of least, but not really, depends on your playstyle, the RPK-74M. This thing, once again, only really can do one thing. It's a one-trick pony. It's super fucking accurate. It is super easy to handle, and it has very useful headshots. So, heavy extended, violet laser, slim handstop for ADS speed, you don't need recoil, and you go down to the 30 round mag to reach the glorious 250 milliseconds. And the buffer, and obviously synthetic tip ammo. Thank god it's only 20 points on this one. And then you get a weapon that can look like this. Yeah. It's again, if you use a recoil grip on this thing, you might want to watch my settings video actually, because there seems to be something deeply wrong with whatever options you're using. If you use a recoil grip on this thing, you should really fix your settings. The problem of this thing is it's very clearly aimed at a playstyle that I don't have. It's very good at mid to long range, upper mid to long range, and that's just not how I play. But if you do engage in those ranges quite a lot, check it out. And the issue, as on many things with synthetic tip ammo, you get this last, or pretty much last. So the road to redemption is long and rocky, but when you get there, it's a nice weapon. I can't really hate it. It's just not for me. Very simple. Okay, let's do the rewind. As a support player, these are all usable except the M250, because that one doesn't even reach 300. It's simply unusable in my opinion. Everything else, L110, just a G36 with more ammo. Why not? DRS, let me just switch back to that one. DRS, absolute tower defense, super laser beam. It's very strong. M260, very mobile on support, but just too slow, but not bad. RPKM, also very mobile on support, feels very good, very accurate, very mid to long range, and because of the 35 damage model, not going to let you down in close range if you have decent aim. all in all, a very good package. I just wish synthetic tape ammo was cheaper. M100 23k. Yeah, if you like the M433 but you want to go even closer range but with much more ammo and on support, a good choice. M250, as already said, unusable for me, no matter the class. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's just not there. KTS 100, as I said, not my playstyle, but objectively one of the best long-range weapons in the game. M240, still very, very usable. Probably one of my favorites on support, just because of how it punches, especially through smoke. You just 75 rounds, hold it in there, you see a hit marker, you stay on target, and it deletes stuff. Really reliable. M121, same thing, but more annoying reloads because you get less ammo for it. Recoil a bit of an issue, short barrel for no reason. Yeah, personally I've seen a reason to use this over the M240. RPK-74M, as I already said, another great long-range weapon and upper mid-range. Not good up close because of the damage model, really not good up close. But that's obviously not what it was made for. Now, again, as the non-support classes, L110, unusable. DRS with this setup, unusable. With the other one, kind of a sluggish AR, and at that point I would personally rather use the M433 or G36. That's just my opinion. M260, basically the same verdict. Still pretty mobile, it's fine, but it kills a bit too slow in my opinion. RPKM, probably again the weapon I had the most fun with on the other classes. It's just really reliable. M123k, unusable. M250, completely unusable. KTS 100, not my thing, but usable. M240, probably the only one of the 300 millisecond LMGs I would kind of try on other classes just because of how strong it is, but still very, very annoying. It's, yeah, unusable, and the RPK usable, but not for me. All in all of these weapons need the cryo barrel. It would help massively, especially on this thing. Actually, no wait, nah, that's not right. Anyway, ignore what I just stumbled about. All of these weapons need the cryo barrel. Many of them could use the buffer. Yeah, and just less visual shake, less annoying, unpredictable recoil on a few of them. Obviously not these ones, but you know. And to be honest, this is an open weapon game, and I do kind of understand the weapon proficiency thing. But if you're being honest about the whole system, right? Let's just have a meta talk about this. On the assault, you get faster draw times and basically sprint recovery with assault rifles. Is that a necessary trait to make assault rifles usable? No. It's a nice bonus. And it's a very small bonus at that. So any class can use assault rifles. On assault you just draw them a tiny bit faster. And obviously that's nice, but it's not necessary. And then you have engineer, which basically gets a free red laser hipfire upgrade on SMGs. Again, is that necessary to use SMGs? No. Is it a nice buff with a bit better hipfire? Yes. It's a nice bonus. And if you get to recon, this is a bit different. They don't have that random weapon sway on snipers. We get to that in not the next, but the second next episode. Faster rechambering, which just basically increases the rate of fire. And obviously they can hold their breaths. So this is a pretty big buff, but that's obviously intentional, so not every class can just snipe, and especially not the medics, at least effectively. So personally, I would lock sniper rifles. That's the only lock I would do actually. I would lock the sniper rifles to the recon. No other class should be able to use them. And everything else can be open weapons. That's my opinion. I think that would work best, but that's just me. And then you have support, which, as we already talked about, improves the ADS speed, which is one of the most essential features on weapon stats. And every other class is basically completely handicapped while using these weapons. Different than the ARs and SMGs for the other two. I think there is a stark imbalance here, and to be honest, I think they should change it. I'm desperately hoping for an entire class rework. Maybe it's season 8, I don't know how long it takes them, but get rid of the ADS buff, drop them all one step, so that these are 250 and the 250 ones are 200. They can keep the god-awful hipfire, they can keep the more annoying recoil, they can keep the way worse sprint recovery and ADS move speed. That's all fine, but not the essential aim down sight speed. That's just one step too much, and it kills this entire class for me. I'm an engineer main and I basically never use LMGs. Not because I don't want to, but because they are the way they are. And it's just not viable for me. Which is unfortunate. Yeah, that's just my 5 cents on this whole topic. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Do you think they should change these signature weapon traits, the class balance overall? Should we go back to closed weapons? I'm not actually a fan of that, but as I said, sniper rifles are maybe an exception. And yeah, next episode, I mean tomorrow? Yeah, this probably comes out on Monday, we will see. Or today maybe, depends on the upload time on YouTube, it always takes ages. Anyway, maybe we're already in season 4, maybe we're not yet. Either way, we will talk about the DMRs and the sniper rifles again. And since we get new attachments for the shotguns in this new season, I think it makes sense to keep those last, which also fits just with the lineup here. So next up, the DMRs. Kind of a mixed bag. Ignore the scopes, I did some testing. Yeah, another weapon class that could need just an overall rework, I think. Maybe, we will see. So, oh, and we get new weapons, obviously, with the new season, so I'll have to do videos on those too, but at first I have to unlock them and level them, obviously, so that will take probably a few days, so just give me a bit of time. And yeah, I'll see you next time with the DMRs, and have a nice start in Season 4. That's it for today, thank you for your time, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Sorrow, out.